Dinner was supposed to be easy, just spaghetti, garlic bread, and the beautiful chaos of my children talking over each other. My mother, Carol, sat at the head of the table. She always did. Said it helped her back. I knew it helped her feel like a queen holding court. My son Noah, 9 years old with a heart too big for his chest, was telling her about his school project, how his teacher said he was a natural leader. His eyes shone with a pride so pure it hurt to look at. Carol smiled. That smile. Thin, polite, never reaching her eyes. She waited. She always waited for the perfect moment to strike. When Noah finished, when the room fell into that expectant quiet, she delivered her blow. "Sweetheart," she said, her voice dripping with false honey, "you should work hard. You don't want to end up like your mother." The fork froze halfway to my mouth. The air left the room. Noah blinked. Like, how? Carol didn't blink. "She's the family failure," she stated, calm as a judge passing a life sentence, like it was a fact as simple as the sky being blue. My daughter, Emma's eyes snapped to mine, wide with shock, then to her brother. I watched it happen in slow motion, the light in Noah's eyes extinguishing, confusion, then a wound so deep his little face crumpled. A single tear traced a path through his spaghetti sauce freckles before he could hide it. I was moving before I thought. I stood, the chair scraping loud in the silence, and pulled him into me. He buried his face in my sweater, his small body shaking with silent sobs he was trying so hard to swallow. Carol sighed, a dramatic, weary sound. "Oh, don't be dramatic. Children need honesty." I didn't look at her. I didn't raise my voice. I just smoothed Noah's hair and whispered, "Let's get some air, baby." As I walked him out, his hand clutching mine like a lifeline, I felt it. Not the hot rush of anger, but the cold, solid click of a lock turning, a final, irrevocable decision settling into my bones. Carol thought she'd just put me in my place. What she'd actually done was declare war in front of the two witnesses who mattered most, and within earshot of a ceasefire she never knew existed. Outside, the cool night air was a shock. Noah's cries quieted to hiccups. I knelt, wiping his cheeks with my thumbs. "What Grandma said is a lie," I told him, my voice low and firm. "The ugliest kind of lie." He nodded, but his eyes were haunted. The word failure was now a ghost in his mind. Carol followed us onto the porch. She crossed her arms, a silhouette of superiority against the warm light from the house. "You're overreacting, Ariel. He needs to hear reality. You've never been able to handle the truth." I didn't respond. I focused on buckling Noah into the car, my hands steady, calm. She leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper. "You've always been too sensitive. That's why you struggle. That's why you'll always be exactly where you are." That sentence, it was the key. I finally turned and looked at her, really looked. I memorized the smug set of her jaw, the triumph in her eyes. I nodded slowly, as if accepting a verdict. Then I spoke the only words she would hear from me that night. "You will never speak to my children like that again." She laughed, a short, sharp bark. "We'll see. We'll see." Her favorite phrase, the weapon of the perpetually powerful. That was her second mistake. The first was hurting my child. The second was believing her power was absolute. I drove home with a sleeping Noah and a silent, watchful Emma. That night, after tucking them in, Noah's whispered question in the dark almost broke me. "Mom, am I going to fail too?" I held him until he slept, then sat alone in my living room, the quiet humming with purpose. Carol saw a single mother she could bully. She didn't see the shareholder. She didn't see the silent partner. She didn't see the woman who had spent years documenting every temporary transfer, every condescending email sent from her company account, every breach of protocol masked as family help. She had just attacked the majority shareholder's granddaughter and grandson, and she'd done it at the family dinner table of the company's silent compliance officer. She had no idea what room she was really in. Monday morning arrived, steeped in a tense, waiting quiet. No calls, no blustering texts. Carol's silence was telling. She was waiting for me to crack, to call, begging for an apology to smooth things over. At 9:17 a.m., my phone rang. Not from her. Thomas, filtered, professional, tense. "It's Thomas. We need to talk. There's an emergency board meeting. The majority shareholder is demanding answers." The majority shareholder? Ellen Morris, my godmother, the woman who'd been a silent guardian since my father's death, who held the controlling interest in Carol's beloved company, Vanguard Partners, the woman who'd been CC'd to every concerning email I'd ever forwarded from my anonymous encrypted account. "What time?" I asked, my voice perfectly flat. 10. "Can you be there?" "I'll be there." I arrived at the Vanguard offices at 9:59. The boardroom was all glass and cold light. Thomas, Carol's long-time but weary partner, sat looking drained. Carol was noticeably absent. She entered 5 minutes late, a calculated power move. She didn't look at me. She took her seat at the head of the table, her table, and offered Ellen a polished, confident smile. "Ellen, darling, this is all so dramatic." Ellen Morris didn't smile back. She was in her 70s, with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. She opened a file. "We're here for clarity," Ellen began, her voice like poured stone, "regarding ownership conduct and the toxic dissemination of harmful rhetoric to minor shareholders." Carol's smile tightened. "Minor shareholders? Ellen, this is a family matter." "It became a company matter," Ellen said coolly, "when you used your position as managing director to verbally assault the children of a principal stakeholder during a documented family liaison dinner, potentially creating a hostile environment for future succession." The corporate language hung in the air, a legal net thrown over a personal cruelty. Carol blinked, thrown. That's absurd. I was giving constructive feedback." Ellen turned to me. "Ariel, you are listed as the secondary stakeholder for the minors, Noah and Emma Grant, following the trust established by their grandfather. Can you confirm the nature of the exchange on Sunday evening?" I met Carol's furious gaze. "Yes." Carol stated, in front of both minor stakeholders, that I was a family failure and that my son should work hard to avoid being like me. This caused significant emotional distress. Carol slammed her hand on the table. "They're children. They need thick skin." "They are stakeholders," Ellen corrected, her voice sharpening, "and your conduct constitutes a breach of fiduciary duty to their emotional and psychological well-being as tied to their future inheritance and involvement. We have a duty of care." Thomas finally spoke, his voice heavy. "Carol, we've had complaints for years from staff about your management style, the belittling, the public humiliations. This isn't new. This was just the final data point." Carol stared at him, betrayal flashing across her face. "You never said anything." "You never listened," he said quietly. "And now it's involving the next generation. Ellen is right. This is a liability." Ellen slid a document across the table. Not to Carol, to me. It was a behavioral audit, compiled from anonymous staff feedback, client feedback, and yes, my own meticulously documented emails over the years, all referencing a pattern of abusive conduct from the managing director. "Effective immediately," Ellen said, "you are on paid administrative leave pending a full external review. Your access to company systems, funds, and the minor stakeholders is suspended." Carol's face went sheet white. "You can't do this. I built this company with my husband." "Your husband," Ellen said, her voice dropping to a deadly quiet, "was my dearest friend. He left me in charge to protect his assets from exactly this kind of behavior, to protect his daughter and his grandchildren. You have been operating on borrowed authority for a very long time." The room was so silent I could hear the hum of the overhead lights. Carol looked at me then, truly looked, and for the first time I saw not anger, but dawning, horrifying comprehension. She wasn't being punished by her emotional daughter. She was being removed by the board, by the system, a system I had quietly, patiently helped turn against her. The aftermath was swift and merciless. By Wednesday, an external HR firm was interviewing every employee. Stories poured out, a decade of demeaning comments, stolen credit, threatened jobs. Carol's strong leadership was exposed as systemic bullying. The temporary share transfers she'd strong-armed me into years ago, my lawyer, with Ellen's backing, filed to make them permanent, citing undue influence. My stake, held in trust for my children, grew. 2 weeks later, the board vote was unanimous. Carol was removed as managing director. A generous severance was offered, contingent on her signing a non-disparagement agreement that specifically included me and my children. She signed. Of course she signed. The alternative was losing everything. The final revenge was not mine. It was the company's. It was systemic. It was quiet. At the next family dinner, my family dinner, at my home, Noah helped me set the table. He placed the napkins just so. "Grandma isn't coming, right?" he asked, not looking up. "No, baby, she's not." He nodded, a weight visibly lifting from his small shoulders. "Good. She was mean." "Yes," I said, kneeling to his level. "But listen to me. Her being mean was about her, not you and not me. We are not failures. We are loved, and we are protected." He finally looked at me, his eyes clear. "I know, Mom." He knew, because he'd seen the boundary drawn. He'd seen it hold. He'd seen the monster not slain with shouting, but neutralized by rules, by signatures, by the cold, impartial law of consequence. Carol tried to send gifts, expensive, guilt-shaped missiles. I donated them unopened to a shelter for single mothers. She tried a tearful call. "You've won, Ariel. Are you happy?" "This was never about winning," I said, my voice calm. "It was about creating a world where my children don't have to hear what I heard. You lost the moment you made them cry. Everything after was just paperwork." I hung up. I blocked her number. The last I heard, Carol moved to a condo in another city. The queen had been dethroned, and without her court, she was just a lonely woman with a sharp tongue and no one left to cut. At Vanguard, the culture transformed. People breathed easier. Innovation replaced fear. My role evolved from silent stakeholder to an active voice on the family trust board. I used my position to institute policies protecting employees from exactly the kind of toxicity Carol wielded. Noah is 12 now. He doesn't flinch at raised voices. He leads his debate team with a calm confidence. Emma has my steady gaze and her grandfather's shrewd mind. They are not afraid. Carol thought power was about who sat at the head of the table. She was wrong. Real power is about who sets the table, who defines the rules of engagement, who protects the vulnerable spots. That night, she attacked what she thought was my weakest point, my worth in my children's eyes. She accidentally triggered the oldest, most powerful law there is, the instinct to protect your young. And she awakened not just a mother's fury, but a stakeholder's leverage, a board's duty, and a godmother's promise. The greatest revenge is not cruelty. It is peace. It is the profound, echoing silence that follows when a toxic voice is finally, permanently switched off. It is watching your children grow in the sunlight, unshadowed, knowing you were the wall that stood between them and the storm. And knowing that wall is made of something far stronger than emotion. It's made of law, of strategy, of patient, quiet, unshakable resolve. Some people need to be screamed at. Others just need to be outmaneuvered.